to today's episode of the Blueprint Podcast, where we throw out the old blueprint so we can learn to become who we were always meant to be. I'm your host, Jason Smith. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button and share the podcast with your friends on social media and tag me in it at JBirdFit. Today, I have a very special guest for you, Stone Fredrickson. He is the founder of Stone Media Agency, content creator, coach, mentor, and leading the way for anyone who has interest in growing their personal brand through authenticity and having a clear vision for their personal mission. Stone, thank you for taking the time to be on the show and to share your knowledge with the Blueprint audience. I've followed you for a while now, and you're someone that has inspired me during a time in my life where I was making massive changes. I had to take a massive pivot, and I've taken your course online and implemented your guidance. And what changed everything for me, though, was actually finding my voice and really starting to settle into that. Now all of my social media is growing daily with no signs of stopping. And it's been in part thanks to what you've been putting out online. So for those of you who are looking to grow on social media, this particular episode is going to feel like a masterclass. So Stone, if you would just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got started.
Of course. I appreciate you for having me on. Yeah, my name's Stone Fredrickson. I'm a 19-year-old full-time content creator, and I own a media agency where I help creators and brands grow and make money from mainly TikTok, but also other social media platforms. And my kind of story started around when I was like 16, 17 years old. I kind of pivoted from sports. I was a big kid in sports. And so I had to pivot from that because I got a bunch of injuries. And so knew I needed to get my shit together and make some money. So my idea was I'd get into e-commerce and make some money there. And then when I turn 18, I could, start investing in real estate and make money that way. But, so I was around 17, 16 years old. It was like August of 2020 during COVID, had a lot of time on my hands, started e-commerce, drop shipping, print on demand, Amazon FBA, all these different side hustles and business models. And 6 to 8 months later, none of them really worked, lost a couple grand, and was like, you know what? I know a thing or two around social media. Personal finance and investing, and knew kids at my school really didn't. And it would aggravate me when they would spend their money on stupid shit and just not invest it and not build their wealth and not take advantage of compound interest. So I was like, instead of being a smart ass at the lunch table, I'll just make some TikToks. And so started making TikToks around April of 2021, grew my first account to 50,000 followers in less than 2 months. And then people were wondering how I got TikTok famous, because that was the label back then. Right. And instead of just repeating myself to every single person, I just started a new account called Coach Stone, as just with the intent of it being like the hub of information. And then quickly grew that account to 100,000 followers in less than 2 months. And at that time, I just turned 18, started my media company, and started consulting creators and brands at a very affordable rate. I was charging like $20 for 30 minutes. But over about 6 months of continuously doing that while growing my accounts, I quickly scaled up my price, my one-on-one price, to $1,000 an hour. And so I stopped doing one-on-ones and then moved into group coaching, and started scaling my company. But now we are here. I'm 19 years old, not going to college, and making a good amount of money and helping a lot of other creators and brands.
And so what are your thoughts on college versus starting a business? What do you think is more beneficial?
So I'm a born bred entrepreneur. I haven't realized this, but like ever since I was a kid, I was doing all sorts of businesses, from lemonade stands to flipping little fidget spinners and AirPods. So I'm a big, and I love numbers and I love problem solving. So, when I first started legit getting into business, like in e-commerce, I fell in love with it, and I knew I wanted to do that and really gain the freedom of being an entrepreneur rather than being tied to a curriculum or a job. So for me, college was, I did not want to go to college whatsoever. I hated school, didn't like it. I was good at it, but I did not like being told what to do, when to do it. And so, I chose a different route. I think it all depends on what you're wanting to do and what you're trying to do, and why you're going to college. I don't think you should go to college if you don't know what else to do. I think college really only serves people that are going into the STEM field or law. I think if you're getting a marketing degree or business degree, it's quite pointless. Marketing, especially, is constantly changing, and I think you're better off just getting your feet wet with marketing on social media, with paid ads, with maybe even start an agency and help local businesses market their products and services, and you could do it for free to get reps in that way. Because you go to school, you're just going to learn billboards, books, or how to market on a bus, or marketing strategies that are really just kind of out of date, and they're not going to
Just
really
more
talk.
traditional methods.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we've had I took business class in high school, and we had a marketing degree, a guy with a marketing degree come in and speak, and he didn't even mention social media once. And I'm sitting there like, what are we doing here? I mean, social media is significantly changed the entire economy and marketplace. So yeah, and especially entrepreneurship too. Like if you're going to school for entrepreneurship, like you're way better off just starting a business and failing and continuously doing that. I think you're going to learn a lot more by doing than just reading out of a textbook that's 20 years outdated. So I guess it just all depends on what you're really trying to do. I think, again, the best piece of advice I got was like, don't go to college because you don't know what else to do. I think a lot of kids, they're just forced to do it, forced to get the loan, get in debt. Then the credit card companies start reaching out to them, then they get in the credit card debt, and it kind of snowballs, and then they're sitting there at 25, 30 years old with a couple $100,000 in debt, not knowing really what they should be doing. So yeah, and it all depends on your situation, right? Like, I don't know if your parents are going to pay for it or if not, but like, there's a lot of moving factors that play a role in that decision. I just highly recommend really looking at all of those variables and really what you're passionate about and what you want, how you want to live a life in 5, 10, 15 years, and if college plays a role in that.
How did you get started in investing and with all this stuff? Like, who was guiding you through
Yeah.
this process, or who was your inspiration that you look to for growing your social media management?
Well, so yeah, so the personal finance and just money in general was the first thing that I got really passionate about. And I got passionate about that because during COVID, my family and I were doing a ton of activities, not even traveling, but just like, going to play golf or doing a bunch of activities that required money. And then once, the pandemic happened and, they had to go back to work, I realized that like money was the limiting factor, and money controls your life. If you don't have money, something or someone is controlling you. And so I knew for a fact that like I needed money. I needed money for time freedom. I needed money for location freedom. I needed money to be able to do things with my friends and my family and to take care for the loved ones. So that's what really opened my eyes, because I was like, oh, why aren't we golfing anymore? It's because of money. It's because my dad has to work. It's because my brothers have to work. It's because it costs money to golf or do some of these activities. So I got really passionate about money that way and realized that like a lot of millionaires get into real estate, and 90% of millionaires are in real estate in some way, shape, or form. But I was like 16 at the time. So I was like, okay, I can make some money by the time I turn 18 and get into real estate. And then, when I first started into money and like personal finance, I didn't know a single thing. I didn't know what a mortgage was. I didn't know what a Roth IRA was. I didn't know any of these fancy terms. And so I would just go up to my mom and dad and just be like, can you simplify what he just said in this video? Or, hey, can we watch this video together? And it's like a video about like how to build wealth in your 20s, like from Graham Stephan. And I'll be like, can you just dumb this down, like, minute by minute?
Right.
And, I don't know if they were like, I don't know what they were thinking at the time, but it helped me. They
They're
really
like,
simplified it.
okay,
Yeah,
Stone.
yeah. They're like, usually kids your age are out drinking or partying, and now
Right.
we're sitting in the living room watching a YouTube video on how to build wealth.
You're not getting in
Um,
trouble. What's going on?
yeah, yeah. So that really helped me. And then I just realized that like I went to school, no one really, it was like scraping forks on a chalkboard when I would go to school, and people were like, oh yeah, I got these new shoes, or I got this new, I'm going to eat here, or whatever the case may be, like just spending money. And majority of them were just spending their parents' money.
Right.
And yeah, I was like, all right, let me just, create some. I initially started on YouTube, but that didn't work. And then I rotated over to TikTok because I knew that my target audience was over there more. and then it quickly blew up just by basically just articulating some of the things that my parents, told me and articulated them in that way, and it resonated with other people out there too.
I'll tell you what, man, you definitely have the voice for radio and to be on
Yeah.
social media, right? It's like, and you've made videos about this in the past about being able to speak with authority and confidence. And so, how did you hone that skill of being able to speak with authority on all of these different topics?
Yeah, so I think the voice component, obviously, you're just born with. My dad has a really good voice, and he's in radio, so so I got that component from him. But in terms of articulating things in certain ways, or being an authority, I think really just comes back to, being an expert. I got it from Jordan Belfort. I was just watching a little clip from him, and he's just like, be an expert. Like, if you're trying to sell something, be an expert. You don't want to come across and say like, you're my first client, or
Right.
this is my first time talking about this. Um, and I think that also comes from like a level of self confidence too, and self trust. Like, you need to stick to your word. You need to do what you say you're going to do, and you need to master the things that you're giving advice about. Don't act like an expert if you're not an expert. I think that's the biggest thing too. And I didn't, as I was a 17-year-old talking about personal finance. I want to be clear, like, I didn't come out and say like I knew everything. All I said was, instead of saying you need to do this, I would just say, I believe you need to do this. I believe you should be doing this. I believe you should learn this. I recommend doing this. This is what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm investing this way, instead of like, you need to invest this way. Like, I'm still not an expert in that field. But in terms of something like social media, I mean, there's just so much undeniable proof that shows I am who I say I am, and it shows that I am an expert. I've helped over 200 people go full time. Not only have I built both of my accounts, but I've also helped thousands of other creators that have just downloaded my digital downloads. And so, from that sense, it's just, speaking from authority, from your past experiences. Um,
And did you
and I
ever
think,
deal with imposter syndrome at all?
oh, 100%, and I still
Yeah.
do. But I think, again, just that undeniable proof really helps. Like, I got it from Alex Ramosi too. He's like, screaming affirmations in the mirror won't build self-worth.
Right.
Having so much undeniable proof that shows you are who you say you are will, and that really resonated with me, and that stuck with me. But 100%, I always get the thoughts of like, oh, people are not buying from me because I'm 19, or people are not listening to me because I'm 19, or every limiting belief that you could probably imagine, I've thought of. But I've challenged it, and I think that's the biggest thing too, is like, so many people, pretty much everyone gets limiting beliefs, but they just accept it. They don't even tend to challenge them, and they don't even think to see where it's coming from. Like, chances are that's coming from something or someone else. Either it's the content you're consuming, the people you're around, people you're talking to, and that was also mind blowing to me, because I realized that like a huge portion of these limiting beliefs were coming from the same people, or the same thing, the same platform, the same type of content, and then you just X that out and make a lifestyle change.
Yeah, it's one of those things you end up consuming more than you're doing. And I think
Yeah.
that really feeds that animal where you just start
Hmm.
to say, you know what, now I'm in comparison mode and
Right.
all of this sucks. Everything that I'm doing is horrible. All of the comments are true that,
Yeah.
and they start picking on you and beating you up. And it's one of those things, whether you're 19 or you're 50 and you're trying to do this, you still run into imposter syndrome. It's something everybody goes through, and you just have to learn to work your way through it and just recognize that when people say stuff, it's more on what's going on inside of them, right?
Yeah.
Because they're afraid they're going to be found out. Right. So it's easier for me to pick on you than to look at myself and recognize that I'm not doing anything this person is doing, but I
Hmm.
certainly don't have a problem criticizing them for it, even
Yeah.
though I'm not doing any of those things in my life.
I think the other thing too is, when I get limiting beliefs or limiting thoughts, I embrace it, and I'm like, oh, I'm growing, I'm doing something meaningful, because it's my brain, it's the defensive part of my brain saying, I don't know if we should do this, I don't know if we should keep going with this, and I think that's a good thing. I think when you embrace that, and once you realize that when you have those limiting beliefs, or when you have those limiting thoughts, you're doing something meaningful, and you're doing something, uh, that where you can grow as a person too.
Yeah, when those thoughts pop in, you're definitely heading in the right direction. There's no doubt about
100%.
that. So, who has who's been some of your biggest influences in terms of personal development? Because clearly you've done a lot of work, you've read a lot of
Yeah.
books. Give me like 3 books that really resonate with you.
Oh, books, I would probably say, How to Win Friends and Influence People is one of my favorite. I just, from the whole social media and going viral like really quickly and getting this huge fan base, so many successful people reach out to me wanting to help or wanting to, communicate or connect or whatever. And so that book really helped me nurture and gain relationships. And so that I highly recommend that book. Another book is Think and Grow Rich. Just a great book to understand the mindset and the philosophies around successful people. And then I would say the last one is probably Rich Dad Poor Dad. Just in
So
terms
good.
of personal finance, I started reading that book once, like 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds were like, I wish I would have learned this when I was 18
Yeah, I
or
was one of
20.
them. I came
Yeah.
across that late in life and I was like,
Yeah.
why didn't I have this?
And so that book really shifted my mindset from like time is money, right? So
Yeah.
I used to have an allowance as a kid and I would get like $100, a couple $100 a month. But as I started becoming more financially literate, I shifted that mindset from getting a couple $100 a month to taking away a couple hours of my parents' time. And so I reversed that and said, you know what, I'm going to give them more time by giving them more money instead of them giving me money. And the same thing goes for like just spending money too. You know, every single time I spend $15 at Chipotle, that's $15 that could work for me and bring me back more money and more time. So, assets versus liabilities, like a lot of mindset shifts happened when I read that book for sure.
So then going viral early on when you were starting your social media with Coach Stone, was that a
Yep.
good thing or a bad thing for you?
I would say that account was a good thing. The other account, I went viral for the wrong thing. Well, initially I went viral actually for a thing that I wanted to go viral for. It was just a simple videos. The hook was, here's some simple shit I believe every teenager needs to hear and do right now that will change your life. Trust me. It was like, number one, get off your ass, get off Netflix, blah blah blah. Number two, get up early. Number three, have some goals, blah blah blah. And so that one went viral because it was very controversial. A lot of teenagers were like, bro, chill out, live life, blah, blah, blah. So but a vast majority of teenagers needed that. And they said, thank you. And so that video did really well. But I got so attached to the number to where I was just creating content that went viral. And so I went from creating content that I wanted to create and that I wanted to be known for to just content that went viral. And so I was like doing like top 3 podcasts that are funny or top 3 podcasts that will change your life. And then I realized that people were following me for those instead of the content that and the information and the value I was putting out instead of this random Joe Rogan podcast or whatever. And so I bit the bullet for a solid 2-3 months of not getting a video over like 5,000 views and just posting content that I wanted to post on that account, Stone Fredrickson. And then it started to ramp up again. But when I started Coach Stone, I learned that lesson the hard way. And I was just like, you know what? Every video that I put out, I want to be known for. And if it went viral. And the truth is like, you have to understand when a video goes viral, your audience is going to expect more of that type of content. And if you're not going to want to put out more of that type of content, there's going to come a point in time where you're going to stop creating because you just don't want to create it. And it's just going to become a chore instead of, it being fun and enjoyable. So yeah, the Coach Stone, I went with a better like avenue of like saying TikTok is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like you need to be creating and like inspiring people to create because it changed my life and I wanted to get in front of people and it hopefully change their life or get them to start creating. And then started giving, tips and my experience and lessons and things like that, which kind of nurtured that ecosystem and that follower base to where I could build a business on the back end.
One of the biggest challenges, especially on TikTok, is you'll create a video, it'll go viral.
Yeah.
You'll create a very similar video, the very next video, and it'll get 2,000 views, 5,000 views. It might be a slow burn video where it takes a month for it to get to 10,000. How do you deal with that in your head when that's happening? Because it's really hard to gauge, well, what type of content should I be creating? Because if
Right.
I did one thing and then I did it again, I repeated the process and it wasn't successful. Is it the content? Is it the subject? Because it's very similar. So what's going wrong in that process there, and how do we deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of moving parts in a viral video. It's just like cooking a good meal, right? If you try to cook a good meal and replicate that, you might not be able to do it. Maybe you put in more salt or more pepper, or didn't cook it long enough, or didn't cook it at the right temperature, whatever the case may be, right? And it's the same thing with a video. Is so especially viral videos on TikTok, they could go viral for the stupidest things. But one of the best ways to gauge why it went viral is by looking at the comments, because the comments are direct reviews basically on why this video did well. Maybe it was because you spelled something wrong, you look a certain way, you sound a certain way, uh, or it's just great value. It's a great topic. The way you spoke and articulated the value is great. Like, that's where you can really pull all that information, and then try to repeat that. The best way to kind of consistently go viral or consistently gain, that type of traction, is to have a recurring piece of content that you want to be known for, but also that people can gain value from, and want to continuously come back to your account for. And so if that video that you went viral for was a recurring piece of content, that can, give the viewers kind of an idea that you consistently put this type of content out, and they can, expect more of it if they were to follow you or watch it. But again, it's just, I would really try to look at that video objectively. And if you can't, even just ask people around you, like, hey, like, can you watch this video? And that's what I do. And I even just evaluate how they react. Are they keeping their eyes on the video? Do they veer off? When did they veer off? Why did they veer off? Um, all these factors are important. And you just learn along the way. It's not like one video that goes viral gives you all the information and all the tools to just continue to replicate that.
Right.
There's little takeaways here and there with each viral video, or even a video that gets over 10,000 views or 50,000 views. You get a gist of why the video does well and why people are gravitating towards it. And that's what I would encourage you to focus on, is the people. We talk, a lot of people talk about the algorithm, but in reality, the algorithm is just the audience, because the algorithm caters to the audience, because the algorithm wants to feed the audience content that they enjoy. And this goes for every platform, but especially TikTok, because TikTok is an interest-based algorithm, meaning it will read the interests of the viewer and try to match content that is similar to those interests, because TikTok's main goal is to keep people on the platform, and that's how they do it. And that's why it's so addicting, because the For You page it shows you content that you just love continuously.
Well, you get those comments all the time. Well, this For You page really said for you today, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So and this goes down to like marketing too. It's like marketing as a whole is just knowing people, knowing how people behave, how they interact, how they communicate, what they like, what they don't like. I mean, from billboards, benches, buses to social media, it's all just knowing people. And so when you study people, when you study the audience, what information, what value they are in need of, and how you can provide it in a way for them to want to consume it, that's the best piece of information you can have as a creator. So that way you can really replicate that, and you get that from posting, and from going live, and from going to where that audience already is, and maybe other creators that are already creating content, looking at their comment sections. Oh, this video did well because this audience is liking the way they articulated it, or the way they formatted it, or whatever the case may be.
I will say there are creators where you're like, why is every video going
Yeah,
viral? Like,
yeah,
doesn't make sense, because you're in the same space and you're creating the same content, and you look at it and it's like, well, there's a ton of more value here. They're kind
yep.
of they're really not giving the full expression of what they should be for what they're talking about, but
Mhm.
for whatever reason it's more viral than the other video that has all this value in it. So
Yeah,
it's interesting.
it's a level of authenticity too, right? Like, the smartest people aren't going to be the most successful on social media. If that were the case, I would be at the bottom of the barrel. Because I'm,
Yeah.
19. Like, if you take the best digital marketer in the world, they're probably a lot smarter than me. But like, it's all comes down to compassion, like being like wanting to help people, and without any expectation of getting anything in return, but also authenticity to provide that in your authentic way. And authenticity just comes down to self-awareness and transparency, your ability to understand yourself, how you articulate things, how you talk, and then being able to be transparent with that. And that's how I think I'm so good at like being authentic is I know that I'm straightforward. I'm straight to the point. I have a deep voice. I can gain people's attention if I hit them like emotionally with the first hook. Um, other times, like I interviewed Tim Chiziano on my podcast. He's a vlogger on TikTok that just vlogs his day in the lives in New York. And I really noticed when I posted those podcast clips that he is way better doing voiceovers than talking heads. And he does talking heads every now and then, but there's a reason why his vlogs continuously do well is because that's his strength. He's playing into his strengths
Right.
of having a great voice, but hiding his weaknesses of not being good on camera and being kind of, it's just, the facial expressions are very dull.
Sure.
And so that's, it's just, and you see it with every other creator too. People that have accents, people that have maybe disabilities, or, like I went to VidCon last year and there was triplets, that, so like you play into your strengths and you play into, um, yeah, like how you can provide the whatever value you're providing in the best way, authentically.
In 2023, what does it look like for how many times we should be posting? How many times we should be going live during the week?
Yeah.
Do these things still matter?
Yeah, I mean, so okay, so let's start with posting. Posting is I'm going to go for the beginner, the person that has never made a video before. You should be posting 3 times a day, okay? And the reason for that is because you may think, "Oh, well, what if I just post one video a day and make it great quality?" Well, you have no great quality because you haven't built the skill set of creating content. So, and I tell this to my clients all the time, there is no quality without quantity. And this goes with everything. Working out, cooking, swimming. How do you expect to, compete against Michael Phelps if you've never swam before?
And I'll tell you
It's
what, TikTok will remind you because it does that 1 year ago today thing.
yeah,
And
yeah,
your old video will pop up and you're like, "Oh god,
yeah,
that was
yeah,
awful."
exactly. Exactly. So,
And at the time you're
content.
like, "This is great."
Yeah. So content creation is a skill. It's just like
Yeah.
everything. So if you're in the beginning, like I'm a firm believer in posting at least 3 times a day for at least 6 months. That's what I did with my first account. I said, you know what? Because I was in high school and I was, I was fearful and insecure of what my friends and family would think of me. But I realized that the impact that I wanted to make was more important than my fears and insecurities. And I just, I just wanted to see if this thing could work. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to post 3 times a day for 6 months straight. I don't care what my friends think. I don't care how many followers I get, how many views I get, how much money I make. I'm just doing this 3 times a day for 6 months straight. Um, and you end up posting a lot of videos, and you end up at least getting a couple videos out there, and you learn a lot. Now, if you've already posted like 500 videos, 300 videos, and none of them have really done it well, then I would start to maybe bring that quantity down and focus more on the quality aspect and what makes a good video for your particular niche and impact that you want to make.
So then at that point, do you start a new TikTok or do you private those videos
No,
and
I would just
continue
I
going?
wouldn't private any videos. I wouldn't delete any videos. um keep those there, and uh just continue to post on your account, because TikTok is continuously collecting data. And this is why I don't understand when social media coaches are like, start a new account. And I had one person kind of debate me on like, they should, people should post 5 times a day for like 3 weeks. And if one video doesn't go viral, they should start a new account and continue to replicate that process until it works. And it's just like, that's pointless, because
Yeah.
you might be starting out new, and that might sound good in theory, but it's shit for TikTok, because TikTok's saying we have a blank canvas and we don't know what you're creating, who you're creating content for. We don't know any of this. And when you posted 500 videos, they have a good gist of what you're putting out, if you're, keeping it somewhat consistent in the messaging and the style, and they have a good gist of who likes your videos and who doesn't, because it's continuously grabbing your content, putting it in front of people, and testing and seeing if that was the right move, and if those people like the video, and if they do, based on certain metrics, it's going to push it out to more people and more For You pages.
And so how important is style? Because
Yeah.
like for me, I do a couple different things and I can tell you a couple months ago, I privated a bunch of videos because I was all over the place in the beginning. You're trying to feel things
Right.
out, figure out where you're
Yeah.
going. Well, now you've got 6 to 9 months of stuff that didn't really work, right? Two,
Yeah.
3,000 views. So private all of that, hone in, niche down, start focusing on one particular topic. That's because I started to become known for that topic. So I'm like, all right, we're
Right.
going to roll with it. I enjoy it, so we can continue talking about it.
Yeah.
Started doing more talking head videos, but then I also do a lot of memes. So I'll use the CapCut editor,
Templates.
yeah,
Yeah.
and do all the stuff from The Office and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
keep it related to my niche,
Good.
and so the
So the,
talking heads will do really well, and then the ones that are the CapCut videos, it's a slow burn over a longer
right.
period of time. So I don't know if that helps me or hurts me in the algorithm, but I can
Yeah.
tell you, I went when I from privating those videos, I went from 62,000 to 160,000 in
Wow.
2.5 months.
Wow.
So that was a massive difference. And I was like, oh, okay. So I wasn't doing the wrong thing necessarily, but
Yeah.
it just took a while to get back into the algorithm and get things moving again.
Yeah. Here's one thing I will say with that last take that you had. Like, you jumped and you privated a lot of those videos. I would argue that the reason why you jumped was probably because of the reps you put in and how you've honed in on the messaging and the content. And the content's starting to perform well because of just those reps and that intangible information that you now have of what content does well and what doesn't, and how to create that value. Not necessarily why you privated the videos. So that's another reason why, like, challenging your beliefs is so huge in the social media realm,
Yeah.
because I thought my videos were doing well because I was posting at a certain time, or I was just talking about a
We
particular
make so
topic.
many inferences that
Yeah,
are wrong half of the time. It's
right.
like,
And in
it,
reality, it's just maybe it's just a good video,
right.
and so I think people don't give themselves enough credit, and they want to, like, you know tie it to a certain hashtag that they used, or the hook or whatever. There's a lot of moving parts in a great video. But yeah, I mean, like, I think it's just so important, again, to just get those reps in, and then over time you can start to really understand, in terms of style. So in the beginning, like, try as many different styles as you can. And when people come to me and they're like, Stone, I've made 300 videos, I've tried everything, I don't know what else to do. I'm like, you're totally wrong. I've made 1,500 videos and I probably haven't even scratched the surface of what I've tried. Right. But what I mean by, like, try every style, I mean, like, walk around your neighborhood and create videos like that. Do a green screen, do duets, stitches, maybe create a video on your couch, on in your office chair, maybe put it on a tripod and speak that way, and kind of use some hand signals, maybe. Maybe even create videos in your bed. Like, I've created some videos in my bed of, like,
It's
me,
so
like, being
strange.
tired
Yeah.
and just not wanting to work, and that relatability really resonates with people. So you know and create and develop a style that falls in line with how you're providing value, right? So if you're providing this, like, very energetic, like, type of content, maybe don't do it in the bed. Maybe do it, like, standing up, or sitting in a chair and, like, being really active, or while you're playing a sport that you're talking about. Like, you can get really creative with it. Don't say, like, I would really be in the mindset of, like, yes, or I'll try that, or maybe, instead of, like, no. Because people, they tie themselves to a particular creator and only think they can do that style. Only think that they can do the podcast mic style. And a
Yeah.
lot of these, styles are getting, redundant. And so the ones that are really becoming successful and blowing up are the ones that are going against the grain and trying something completely out of left box.
Well, and that's the whole thing. I stopped doing all these different hooks. Here's 3 tips for this and
Yeah.
2 things for that. And I just moved into, I'm outdoors all the time. I've got my sunglasses, my hat on, and a weighted
Yeah.
vest, and I'm like, take a walk with me. And that
Love it.
take a walk with me just sucks them right in. People are like, I really felt like I was on a walk with you.
Yeah.
And it was so relaxing and it felt so good. So now you've evoked an emotion, and they're fully invested in whatever it is that you're saying in that moment.
Mhm.
So it makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're gonna, like, the other thing too is, if you're going to, like, talk about a particular news event or something that's, trending, instead of just doing a talking head with a traditional background, maybe get a green screen an article headline of, that event, and say, an engaging hook, and point to the headline of the event, or if you're talking about a particular celebrity, green screen a picture of that celebrity so people already know that you're talking about that celebrity in some way, shape, or form, instead of relying on them getting to when you even say their name, right? So at the end of the day, it's a video. People are watching it, and the visual component plays a huge role in the video.
I will say I don't know the guy's username, but he's also bald and bearded, and he does all the news stuff.
The news, yeah,
Yeah, but he's got his voice is what carries all of that, right? Because it's like kind of monotone in the way that he speaks, and he's just putting it
yeah,
out there. He's like, "There's no outside influences. I'm just giving you what
yeah,
actually happened." And I looked at it, and now here you go, here it is, and it's just like
exactly,
pulls you in every single time, and it's just
yeah.
talking
And
head standing there.
he uses images above
Yep.
him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, of just like little things. Like
Hmm.
again, if it's about the submarine, it's just a picture of the submarine. Like
Yeah.
little things that really tie the viewer in.
But everything he does is so well thought out, and
Oh yeah,
he even showed the other day like how much research goes into what
yeah,
he's actually providing to people, and it's just awesome. So
yeah,
and he was even asking the question, "Hey, do you want to know my setup? Do you want me to dive into some of this other stuff?" And it's like, well, yeah, I'm invested now,
yeah.
so regardless of whether I care about your setup or not, sure, I want to see your
Right.
setup, show me.
Yeah.
So shadow banning and the algorithm, is shadow banning real? Do we need to worry about that?
Yeah, shadow banning I think is a very popular excuse or label that people kind of go to when their videos aren't doing well. And the bottom line is TikTok wants to help you and they want you to help them. They want you to put out valuable content that's going to keep people on the platform out, and they want to match it with an audience to do best with to keep people on the platform, but more importantly to incentivize you to keep creating content because it's just doing well. And so, the idea that there's someone at TikTok just, you know, dimming your content is pretty ridiculous. Now, with some other platforms, it's a thing. It's already come out to be a thing.
Right.
And you can't really control that. And the other thing too is like if you go against community guidelines, yeah, you're gonna get dimmed. You're gonna get reduced in terms of engagement, and that makes sense. You're going against the rules. And so, is shadow banning a thing? I wouldn't tell yourself that you're shadow banned. I'm a firm believer in taking like full accountability, full control of what's happening in my life and the results that are happening around me. And chances are your content's just shit.
Right.
No one's not, the content's not resonating. The ideas are very specific. The ideas are not appealing to people. The style might be redundant or old or boring, and this is why I always tell people like macro of all of this, growing on social media, being successful on TikTok, all of this, like I've dumbed down to three things. And that is number one, the value you are providing your audience. Okay. Inspiration, education, motivation, and exactly what value that is. Number two, how you are providing that value. Are you doing it in this long, dreadful, boring way with no text, with no captions, with no images or videos? Or are you doing it in this simple, effective, way with images, with audio, with sound effects, or whatever you really need to provide that value in the best way? And then lastly, the third point is how consistently you're providing that value. Are you posting once a week, or are you posting 3 times a day? And the one that's posting more is just going to get more at bats and get more chances. Those are the three. Obviously there's very little micro details in
Sure.
all three of those, but like that's what you should be focusing on, not the algorithm, not a hashtag strategy, not an SEO tip. Literally just the viewer and providing them with what they want in a way that they want it.
Yeah. Just don't suck.
Yeah.
So when it comes to selling, what are some best practices there? Because we all have a link in bio, and
Yeah.
we want to use the call to action and send people there.
Yeah.
But that on TikTok especially has been a struggle over time, because it's like, go over here, press
Right.
the plus button, right? And
Yeah.
you just can't say the words, unfortunately. So um, what is the best way to handle that in your video content?
So back to when you were asking like how many times you should go live, you should be
Hmm.
going live at least 3 to 5 times a week. Live is where you're probably going to convert the most, just because that's where people can really communicate with you and connect with you at a like live. It's basically like like if you were just creating videos, it's just like you texting and trying to build a relationship instead of FaceTiming and calling, which would be the live component. And selling anything, you need to have some sort of trust, and you need to build some sort of relationship with the viewer or with the person. And so you build that relationship by continuously showing up every single day, multiple times a day, in the right way. So that's the other component of it, is like continuously showing up, going live. And then in terms of like micro details of like what to say, how to convert, you should have a call to action in your bio, like book a one-on-one call with me and put the arrows down. Something like that, whatever the product is. You should be posting Instagram and TikTok stories, like about your offers, about your day, about maybe student wins or client wins or testimonials. And then about 25% of your posts should be what I like to call promotional posts, meaning not ads, not saying, "Hey, I just came out with a new product. This is going to be great. It's this, that, this, blah, blah, blah." No, no, no. Making valuable content and positioning your offer as additional value. So to give you an example, I had a hook template sheet that I offered a little while ago, and I would create a video saying 98% of your video performance is based on the hook. The hook is the first 1 to 3 seconds of your video. Here are 5 hook templates that you can use for your next video. If you enjoy these 5 hook templates, you can get my 50 hook template sheet in my bio, right? So if they like the 5 hook templates, they can go ahead and get it, right? Like if you're looking for a simple workout plan every single week, here's one that I give to my clients. But if you want one that's a little bit more personal to your needs and wants, then schedule a one-on-one call with me, or whatever the case may be, right? You're still providing value, and you're just positioning your offer as either additional value or different way of getting that same type of value in a better way. And so that's kind of how you go about it. Now, a lot of people say like you can't say link in bio, you can't say some of these words. I'm a firm believer that you can. I've had videos go viral where I'm saying link in bio. I've had clients go viral when they say link in bio. It just comes down to the video. Like if the video is good, TikTok doesn't really care what words you say or what words you put off the screen. They're going to want to push it
I
out
can
to
tell
more
you, we
people.
live in fear of that. Like if I say
Yeah.
link in bio, man, I'm going to get trashed in the algorithm. And it's like, we've been conditioned for it now
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
believe that that's the case.
The other thing I would say too is like people aren't dumb. If they want additional value, if they want to meet with you, if they want to, talk with you, or if they want to find something more about you, they know where to go. They know that there's a link in your bio. They know
But
that they
do
can hit
they?
the
Because they still ask the question,
well,
how can I get in
so
contact
yeah.
with you?
So
Well,
I mean, some obviously aren't really aware. You're gonna have that portion of your audience that really aren't that tech savvy or are new to this. And so it's good to continuously, remind them, right? With those
yeah.
25% promotional posts, you're going live multiple times a week, you're posting Instagram and TikTok stories. So that's what I mean by like people aren't dumb if they are watching those videos, and I think it's just so important to just continuously show up. And you don't know that someone might be like they're back against the wall with one more post, one more live, one more story. So if you haven't gotten a sale yet, don't just throw this out of the water and say that hasn't worked. You could just be one post away,
Right.
or I have a relationship client, a relationship coach client, and I was telling him, I'm like, look, your viewers could be one fight away from being like, you know what, we need to get on a call with him and sort this out. So that's just the reality of it. And you need to just continuously show up, build trust with the audience. And you do that by providing value and them getting results from your content. Just someone like we already have a relationship due to the results you've already gained from my content. Right. And if I'm following a health and fitness trainer and they help me, gain muscle and lose fat, like I'm probably going to go with them rather than the guy that's speaking on stage that I can't relate with. And that's the unique component that you can have on a platform like TikTok is the relatability. Because, with some of these big stars and big personal brands and big, entrepreneurs that are speaking on stage, oftentimes people can put them on a pedestal and not be as relatable, and that's why they go with someone like, you that might have 10,000 followers or 20,000 followers.
Right. And a big part of it is just making sure that you're posting so consistently that you're constantly being pushed in front of people, because
100%.
every single freaking video is an opportunity. And I had that serendipitous moment where it was, I privated a bunch of stuff that wasn't working. I joined the creativity program beta, and then the next video I made went 2.2 million views,
Love it.
and
Yeah.
from there started more coaching clients. I've got a 21-day self-love challenge. People have been buying the heck out of that. That
Love
starts
it.
on July 9th. Of course, I'm going to plug that. But it's just really cool to see the progression of this, because
Yeah.
right when you're about to give up, right where you're at the, you're in that last moment of, what, fine, I'll join the creativity beta program. I don't know if it's good for me. I don't know anything about it, but I'll give it a shot because it's really the last dish effort
Yeah.
before I'm going to decide to go do something else. And then that was that shift that needed to happen. And,
Right.
now things keep progressing, and Instagram is the same thing. It just keeps growing. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's an awesome feeling when you finally gain just a little bit of momentum.
Yeah. And the other component of selling is like making sure whatever you're offering is directly congruent with like what you provide and like
Yep.
the problems that you're solving. And so that's why with the last step of my program is the earn stage, because you want to build some sort of audience or community that knows, likes, to trust you. That way you can gain some sort of data and information on what problems they're dealing with, and how you can create an offer as a solution to those problems. So that way it's already built in line. A lot of people just like, think of making merch because they see Mr. Beast build merch or this other creator build merch. And so, they decide to do that instead of coaching, or instead of, providing one-on-one coaching, or, a digital download, like a course or an ebook. Um, so it's important to build that audience, evaluate that audience, and provide them with what they are in need of in the way that they want it to encourage conversions and sales. And the way that I've found that to be the best is through a platform called Stan instead of like Linktree or Beacons, because Stan is contextually fit for social media and content creators. It's basically like your all-in-one creator store builder. So you can offer coaching, digital downloads, you can do email sequences, you can do email newsletters, you can do video response, you can do courses, you can offer anything on there.
I do wish they had a direct integration with Kajabi, though. I put in for that
Yeah,
one. That would be
yeah,
helpful.
yeah. I mean, there's obviously maybe a couple
Uh,
things that they can definitely improve on, but overall, I think it's just like a simple platform that pretty much any creator can hop on and start offering things to their audience within 30 minutes to an
Immediately.
hour.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's so
and
user friendly.
um, yeah, and so you can use a platform like that and start, making some money from your audience. And back to my story and me doing, one-on-one calls for $20 for 30 minutes. I did like 300 of those before I started charging $1,000 an hour. And the reason is because I needed that information. I needed those reps, because I haven't done that before.
Right.
And yeah, I wasn't making a killing in the beginning, but I gained the intangible information that I needed in order to make a killing 6 months, a year, 2 years after. And the other component to this is back to when you were saying like you just need one more video. That's especially true because I sign clients all the time that are like, I was following you when you had 5,000 followers. I was following you 2 years ago and now I'm starting to buy. So
Yeah.
again, just because you're 3 months, 6 months, 9 months into it and no one has bought yet, maybe you just need one more month. Maybe the person just needs one more month of your content to get them to understand that like you're consistently showing up, you're about this, and they should go with you.
Yeah. I mean, you're growing and developing into the person that you need to be, get the clients to push the business forward. And
Right.
so you talked about your 80-year-old self. Um,
Mhm.
Explain to people what that is in terms of looking back on your life.
So every now and then I literally will sit down and talk to my 80-year-old self. Or I'll be in an experience or in a situation that maybe I'm not as grateful for and talk to my 80-year-old self. And usually my 80-year-old self puts the here and now, like the present in perspective of like, this too shall pass. If you're going through a struggle, like you'll be all right. If you're in a, you know, place where you've always been before. Maybe it's just talking to your parents and you're just sitting there not as grateful. Your 80-year-old self is probably like, you are not going to spend too much time with them. Let's enjoy this, so, and then even times, sometimes I'll be my 80-year-old self in my current body. So I'll be 80 years old and I'll be like, wow, I'm on a podcast with Jason. Jason looks so young, because right. And
Right.
like, this is amazing. And, it puts it in perspective of like, you know what, this might be the last time that I do a podcast, or this might be the last time I interact with Jason, or, this might be the last time I hang out with a friend. And when you put it in that way, I think, at least for me, it helps with being more grateful and appreciating the present moment. But also not putting too much stress or pressure or judgment on myself when I screw up or make a mistake or I'm in a bad situation.
And it's looking back and just, from your 80-year-old self, looking back on this moment, you can sit back and say, you know what? I am proud of who I was in that moment. I may not have been proud of other moments in my life, but I can look back on this particular moment from that age and say, you know what? I've done everything that I know how to do, and I'm willing to get the information to help move myself forward and create the life that I really want to have, that the 80-year-old version of me is going to be absolutely proud of and thankful for, and have that same level of gratitude that you're displaying now. And I think that's awesome.
100%. I think the other thing too is like, for people that are younger, it's a matter of like taking risks. I'm a firm believer in taking risks because you don't really have that much luggage or that many responsibilities yet when you're young. And so if you're scared of taking a risk, if you're scared of traveling somewhere, whatever the case may be, talk to that 80-year-old self, because chances are that 80-year-old self would probably tell you to do it. And in most cases, the things that we fear the most are oftentimes the things we must do. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, like, it's really served me, and I sincerely recommend sitting down and having a conversation with your 80-year-old self.
Stone, this has been amazing. I can't thank you enough for sharing your knowledge and expertise with the Blueprint audience. How can everyone stay connected with you, and what services do you currently provide?
Yeah, so I have you can follow me on Instagram, Stone Fredrickson on Instagram. You can also follow me on TikTok, Coach Stone and Stone Fredrickson. I have two accounts over there, and Stone Fredrickson on pretty much every other social media platform. The services I provide, I have a couple different things that I provide. Obviously, a ton of free value within my content. I have a free training in my Stand store, which is in my link in my bio. I have like a TikTok 101 Basics Bootcamp, and then I have my main coaching program called the CORE program. And CORE is just the acronym that stands for the 4-step process we run through. So C stands for clarity, O stands for optimize, R stands for refine, and then E stands for earn. It's a 3-month coaching program designed to help industry experts that know something build an audience that knows, likes, and trusts them, but also make money from that audience. So if that's you, if you're interested in doing that, or if you're looking for maybe a different eye, or need some help with that, or getting to the next level, I truly believe I'm your guy.
I think you are too. Stone, thank you very much, man.
Thank you.